Doodling is more of a thought process where you express your ideas regardless of the tools you use and the medium you use.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Nodes of Design. To help support our mission spread knowledge, we have a very special guest on today's episode. Let's welcome Tejo, Guna, an artist by profession and also an wall muralist and a professional doodler from India. Tejo has been known for conducting various workshops across India, and his obsession towards drawing and doodling has made him conduct all these different sorts of workshops to help bring creativity out of people's minds. In this episode, Tejo had shared great insights on doodling. We had discussed on what exactly is doodling and what is the process of creating this wonderful piece of art. We then spoke about Tejo's source of inspiration for drawing this wonderful piece of art, and also what are the tips that he suggests to take inspiration from our surroundings. In the later part, we then discussed on how to effectively communicate a story or a narrative using doodling and how to convey a message to the end viewer. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and on every Friday, we release new episodes with different creative leaders from around the world to help you better understand different concepts related to design. So don't forget to tune in into Notes of Design every Friday. With that being said, happy designing everyone. Hi Tejo, welcome to Nodes of Design. It's pleasure hosting you today on our show.
Hey, hi. Yeah. So it's my first podcast. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. Yeah.
So
Thank you so
Tejo,
much.
how was your day going?
It's been good. Like so far, every day is same. Every day, So for the past 2 months, I've been at home. Like I stopped taking some projects and started focusing on, improving my skills. Yeah, it's all good so far.
Wonderful, Tejo. This is like a very hard thing to hear from you because you're always the one who is traveling all around the country and conducting workshops and all. Right?
Yeah, actually. So I had planned for this year, like I had planned for 24 cities to conduct workshops this year. So, but then because of this COVID, I had to, postpone the plans, and I don't know when I'll restart those workshops again. Yeah.
Hoping better that everything gets settled soon. So Tejo,
Yeah,
if you could give a
hopefully.
brief about yourself to our audience out there.
Sure, sure. So, myself Tejo. Like, my name is Tejo Guna. So, I'm an artist, like a freelancer. I've been drawing since childhood. So, I'm a self-taught artist. So, I've been drawing since childhood. So, ever since I was a kid, I was always into coloring, sketching, painting, and all. I used to explore a lot in the field of art, and even my parents were very supportive. They used to provide me with the required materials. So, as the time passed by and as I grew up, my obsession towards drawing, it grew more stronger. So I don't call it passion, I call it obsession, because I've been, it's one thing that's been with me since childhood. So it never faded away. It only grew stronger as I grew up. And then when I was in like ninth standard, I wanted to, get into animation. So yeah, but my, my parents were pretty skeptical about it. So they wanted me to pursue an engineering course. So somehow I managed to, get myself into architecture. So they were trying for like either like they wanted me to either get into NIT or IIT. So they had high expectations on me, high hopes on me. So I somehow, got into architecture in NIT Nagpur. But then later on, I dropped out of it. It was not a thoughtful decision though. It was just an impulsive decision. But then I stood by that decision. I dropped out from the college in 2016. But then before dropping out, during my college time, like from 2012 to 16, there I got more time to focus on my skills, develop on my drawing skills, and get into it. And then that's how it all started. Like I started doing freelancing while I was in college. I started working for t-shirt designs in the college for events and all, and then later on slowly started exploring different fields in it, exploring different opportunities in it. So while I was in college, I used to do all this graphic designing, mostly into graphic designing, and then I used to do my improve my sketching skills, because as I stopped sketching from in my 11th and 12th standard, so because I had to get into a good college. So it was a pretty tune-up phase for me. And then later on, I started working as a freelancer, and then so I started doing wall murals. It happened to, I happened to get those opportunities as I drew a wall in my home long back in 2015, I guess. So that's when I started, experimenting more on the walls. And then later on, I started getting more projects to do wall murals. My first projects were from Vadodara, Gujarat. That's how I started traveling more and more. So and then eventually it picked up, and I started working in different states across the country. That's how it all started. And then from 2016, I started conducting workshops so parallelly. So that also picked up. And then last year, I did a tour of workshops in 20 cities. So this year, I planned for more, but then due to COVID, it didn't happen.
Basically, like, what are your tips to the beginners on how to start?
So my tips to beginners is like they need to have patience and they need to maintain the consistency. Without these two, you can't really rush into the field of art. You can't see. I tell them to be hopeless when you're doing a sketch. Like you have to be hopeless and aimless when you're actually learning. Because when I started drawing as a kid, I wasn't hoping for hoping to become an artist or something. I was being hopeless. I was just drawing to have the fun of it. So I just want them to go through the same process instead of having expectations. Just be hopeless and aimless, and then maintain the consistency and be patient enough to get your first assignment. So that's how it all starts. It's not a easy road, or there are no shortcuts. You need to build up a strong foundation. When your foundation is strong, that's when you grow stronger.
Thank you so much, Tejo. So let's begin our topic on doodling, as you are an expert in that. So what exactly is doodling, and what is your process of creating those wonderful pieces of art?
So basically, doodling, what I call is like doodling is nothing but creating from your thoughts. Like doodling is a thought process where you create something out of scratch, or you can recreate something you always see. So basically, doodling doesn't have any specific tools. It can be done by a kid or an adult. And we have been passively doodling since childhood without knowing. Because when we get bored in the class, we just start scribbling in the page. That's called doodling. So it's just expressing your thoughts with or without having conscious about them, being conscious about them. So it doesn't have a specific tool to doodle. So when you doodle with paints, it's called a painting. When you doodle, with pencils, when you sketch with pencils, it's called a sketching. Those are the art forms that comes out of it. But then doodling is more of a thought process where you express your ideas regardless of the tools you use and the medium you use. So this is what a basic thing about doodling is. Process like my the way I create my works, like I've been sketching since childhood, first thing. So I've been sketching all the, like I used to watch a lot of cartoons and collect flashcards where you have cricket cards, Pokemon cards, all those. I still have that collection. So I used to look at those and sketch them in my books. Like I used to maintain a lot of normal books and then I turn them into sketch. So that's how I picked up my sketching skills since childhood. And then later on, I thought, why not I add some of my own thoughts to, it. So basically, in the end, if you see any artwork, no matter how intricate it is, it always starts with a stroke or a shape. So it's like when you look closer to an intricate artwork, it is nothing but a combination of shapes and patterns. That's what I believe. So I break it down to the most basic form and reconstruct it as per my wish. So that's how I do it. So it's all basic shapes and patterns.
So how do you come up with ideas to sketch? Any inspiration you would love to talk about on?
So basically, mostly, I do like if I'm working on sketches, like a blend of sketching and doodling, I go for the reference images of animals or the body poses I want to get along with. And then when I outline the body pose and then I recreate the inside of it. The details I recreate it from the scratch. But then the body pose, I take references. Or sometimes like when let's say a thought, like let's say you want to draw a coffee mug. It can be drawn in any number of ways, right? Like it can be drawn from the top view, bottom view, side view, any view, like any angle. So there you get a number of possibilities. And if you want to add, you can also make it look, you can also add more patterns on the top of a cup. You can also decide the shape of a cup. Or let's just say you want to draw a human figure. Okay, so there how you create is like when you actually consider a human figure, there are like many different aspects where you can play around with the detailing part. First comes the body pose. That's the first part. Once you decide the body pose, then comes the dressing part. In dressing part, you can play around with different types of dressing styles, even like from the very minute details as accessories. Like you can create different shades, like shapes of specs, or you can add more accessories to it, jewelry to it, and then even the hairstyles. And even when you're drawing hair, you can recreate hair according to your will, and then you can make them float in the sky or like add background to it. So there are many aspects when you are creating it, and that comes, with the flow. When you start with a when I start with a body pose, and then when I'm working on the dressing part, then I think about the dressing part, and then when I'm working on the accessories part, that's when I keep developing, so that is connected. And then I add more details, like which are like when I'm adding more further details, I check the details which I already done, and then make sure they are linked with this. So that's how I play around with the details.
Thank you so much, Tejo. So there's this, I would say, a controversy thing basically wherein people say either you should go with a pencil or the directly a digital tool, something like a Wacom or an iPad pencil. So what's your thought on that? What do you suggest like to the beginners?
So I suggest them to, so like when we were kids, so there wasn't much digital medium, right? So this is something which started like 10 years ago, like the digital medium started picked up. So I have both, like I use digital medium and handwork, but then I'm more into handwork because I've always been into it. And then, it gives you, so both of them have their own pros and cons, right? Digital medium is a whole new medium, like whole new dimension, and handwork medium is a whole new dimension. So when you actually get good with your hands, like that's on paper, then you can shift to digital or anything. Sometimes I draw drafts on the paper and then recreate them in digital, like trace them in the iPad and then create them more vibrant. So that's how you can always blend them. It's not like you have to do only one. You can always do any of this. But then when you directly start with the digital medium, there is something called zoom, there's something called zoom and pinch and then erase, and then all these options come up. So that makes you more tend more towards that, and then it makes you tough to get into handwork, back into handwork. But then when you start with handwork and get into digital, it becomes way more easy. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Tejo. So how do you effectively communicate a story or a narrative using the pieces of art? Any tips or suggestions on that?
So basically, when so as a, like, if you see a writer, any writer, like when they come up with the story, they keep on developing the story when they are actually writing it, right? They don't come up with the whole story from the start to end, like when in their mind. When they actually keep writing it, they keep on improvising it. That's how I also play around with the storyline in my doodles. So when as I said, I start with the body pose, like step by step. So when I start with one step, and then when I'm actually thinking about the details, I try to create more depth to it, and then proceed towards it. And by the end of it, it's like a doodling is like a storytelling you tell to yourself, and you express it through the form of drawing instead of writing. So let's just say you draw a circle. Okay, so a circle can be many things. There are many things that fit inside a circle. It can be, a circle can be a ball, circle can be a plate. So when you talk about a plate, you can place different types of food in it, like different cuisines in it. When you talk about a ball, it can be different balls, right? When you talk about a planet, it can be of different planets. When you talk about a fruit, it can be different fruits. So this way, that's the storyline part, the basic storyline part, how you want to play around with it. You decide one step, like you decide whether it's a ball, it's a planet, it's a plate, or it's a dining table. Then you add more to that story. That's how you develop the storytelling part. But it always starts with a shape, basic shape or a stroke. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tejo. So on a concluding note, we would love to end this by you recommending us 3 favorite books of yours and also 3 people who inspire you the most in this ecosystem.
So basically, books, I don't read books, like I don't read novels or something. So but then I do, for anatomy and all purposes, I follow so I follow this book called Freehand Figure Drawing for Illustrators. So this is where I'm learning my anatomy thing. So it's by David H. Ross. This book I recommend people to follow it. And then the 3 favorite artists of mine are, one is Kim Jung-ji. He's a professional. He's a master in anatomy. He just draws it without any reference, or is straight from his memory and without any pencil. He just draws it directly with the pen. Kim Jung-ji. And then there is Alfonso Dunn. He is my favorite YouTube artist. Like, he is into shading and sketching more realistic with pens. And then there is this artist called Kirby Rosens. So these are my three favorite artists who always inspire me to, work more and, hustle more into this.
Thank you so much, Tejo, for your wonderful time. We would love to host you again in our upcoming episodes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah.